What's going on, people, and welcome to another top 10. And today it was chosen by my missus. She is a Chelsea supporter, so I'm doing top 10 all-time favourite Chelsea players of mine and the best for me. So coming in at number 10, Michael Essien, the Ghanaian, the beast that was a machine in midfield, like ferocious, tough in the tackle, very quick for someone that was built like he was, just strong as an ox, and some bangers of goals he scored as well. Like, I think he's very underrated. Some people give him his credit, but a lot don't. And Michael Essien, I always remember for Chelsea, and even for Ghana at times. But I always remember him fondly from some of the bangers he scored in the Premier League era. And an underrated player for me. But yeah, strong as an ox, could put a tackle in, and was quite well-rounded for a player as well, of how he was. Like I said, he was very strong on the ball, and people probably look at him a little bit like he was a bit ferocious, which he was, but he was also very good on the ball technically, and even his passing and stuff like that. So Michael Essien, number 10. Number 9, one of England's best talents, I think, in terms of just an individual, came from a street football background, and I think he would have gone on to do even more with Chelsea had he not had some injuries, and that is Joe Cole. And I still don't think we've replaced him in the England side as well. I remember he got a bad injury in one of the tournaments for England as well. Unbelievable on the ball, offered that individual flair, that little bit of different style that you need in a team. He was almost like a foreign player for the England team because of how he played. And I think you saw that in glimpses with England, but more so with Chelsea. Yeah, Joe Cole for me, like I said, I don't feel like we've replaced him for England since he left and retired. He went on to have a good career as well, but one that was a bit slowed down by injuries, which is a shame. But going on in the podcast game now, Joe Cole, you can go find his stuff at Joe on YouTube. Some good content there, but one that I miss watching in terms of an individual. You can definitely see that street football in him, that cage football in him, and he was very raw. And even in his young days at West Ham, people were talking about him before he even got into the first team. Ferdinand talks about it a lot, and a lot of people talk about it, where they were like, who's this kid I'm hearing about? And even at a very early age, he stood out. So Joe Cole has to make the list, and he makes it in at number 9. Number 8, Ricardo Carvalho. A vital part of that first stint under Mourinho when they won their first Premier League. Him and Terry with their partnership at centre-back, I don't think they would have won the league without that partnership, first and foremost. And I think he was underrated. A lot of people don't really speak about him that much. When, like, centre-backs of all times come up and that, I don't really hear him spoken about as much. And I think he was great at Porto before that as well. He was part of that Mourinho Champions League winning squad as well. And then he brought him to Chelsea. So a very underrated player for me. Could be dirty and nasty off the ball when marking, but then on the ball he was very cultured, could pick a pass, very high accurate passing, could also drop into the centre of defensive midfield role if you needed him to. And he was just a very well-rounded centre-back and could do different facets of the game. So for me, he has to make the list, and he makes it in at number 8. Number 7, Gianfranco Zola. Free kicks, technique, low centre of gravity. He was like the early Hazard. I think Hazard ended up being better than him, but he was like the prototype for that kind of thing. I mean, maybe not as well polished off as Hazard ended up being, but he was vital for Chelsea even before the money came in. He was arguably their best player. So, and that was in a talented team at the time with the likes of Flo, Babayaro, Wise, Poyet. The list goes on, and I think that he does get spoken about quite a lot, but probably also gets left out quite a bit as well. And I think he could play in modern football as well. Like, he was coming to the end of his time when the kind of modern football was coming in, but he was about a little bit still. And one of my favourite players to watch growing up in terms of that low centre of gravity style of play, and his technique on free kicks, and just his technique was beautiful to watch. Could get you off your seat. So Zola, number 7. Number 6, Petr Cech. When he came in, I don't think a lot of people really knew about him, and then he went on to do what he did with Chelsea. It was just so hard to beat between the sticks for them. It was part of the squad under Mourinho that, can't remember what it was now, but they conceded so little goals when they won the Premier League, and he was a vital part of that. Went on to have a good career, even at Arsenal when they were struggling. I thought he did well, but his time at Chelsea in that first run, unbelievable. And now, obviously, part of the club still after he retired, but a phenomenal goalkeeper. One that looked like having an octopus in the goal because he would just make the goal look small. Very great keeper, and one that will go down in the history for Chelsea of probably arguably their greatest ever keeper. So Petr Cech, number 6. Number 5, Eden Hazard. His career has definitely gone down since he went to Madrid. I don't know, there could be several reasons for that. Recently won the Champions League without even getting on the pitch, getting a winner's medal. But his time at Chelsea, he had a few seasons there where he was unplayable. That low centre of gravity I was talking about with Zola, he was like the finished article with it. Did things on the ball that if you blinked, you missed it. And if you just go back and look at his highlights for Chelsea, even if they lost games, he'd go on runs and beat about 5 people with ease, and the ball would be glued to his foot. A phenomenal player, one that I miss watching when he was at his peak, and unfortunately his career has nosedived quite drastically. But his time at Chelsea, and even at Lille before that, phenomenal player. As I said, if you haven't seen him, go and check out his highlights. But yeah, his time at Chelsea, he looked like a magician on the ball. So Hazard, number 5. Number 4, I think England's best ever left back, and one that used to put Ronaldo in his pocket, and that was Ashley Cole. Obviously, I'm a United supporter, so when he did put Ronaldo in his pocket, I wasn't happy. But you could only sit and applaud it and respect it because he was that good. And few people could do that to Ronaldo, and Cole did it pretty much every game they played against each other. England's best ever left back for me as well. It's unfortunate he didn't play in more tournaments for us than he did. He played in a few, but I would have liked to have got a bit more out of him. There was a lot of stuff when he left Arsenal for Chelsea, but probably even improved at Chelsea. So a great career for him, and he's now involved in, I think he's the assistant at Everton now for Lampard, I believe, or helps in the coaching. So Ashley Cole, a phenomenal defender, and he could attack as well. Kind of like that modern day wing-back role. He was doing it early on. So great player, and I think England's best ever left back, and one of the world's best ever left backs. So Ashley Cole, number 4. Number 3, Didier Drogba. The big man up top. But for a big man, he was quick, he was strong, technically excellent, could score free kicks, headers, left, right foot. He was a full package for me, and hurt United on multiple occasions as well. Phenomenal in cup games for them as well, helped them win certain cups that without his goals they wouldn't have done. And he was just clinch at most games. In finals and semi-finals and things, he'd turn up. A lot of the time, he was on the winning side, and it would be his goal that would decide the match. And for me, he's one of the best ever Premier League strikers and one of the best ever strikers in the world for me. So Didier Drogba, give him some respect. Number 3. Number 2, John Terry. You could call him Mr. Chelsea. He definitely is up there. And a great captain. I think one of England's best ever captains. And there's all that stuff been going on recently with Ferdinand and Terry. Even though I'm a United supporter, I have Terry as the best ever centre-back in the Premier League for me. I think he was that good. And Ferdinand might have been a little bit better on the ball. But in terms of an all-round, just nasty, brave defender, I think there was nowhere near him. And I think he could have played earlier on in the 90s or 80s with how football was because of how he played. And I think he's underrated on the ball himself. So for me, the Terry and Ferdinand stuff that's been going on recently, I would side with Terry in terms of just football. I'm not getting into the whole racism thing and all that happened with him and Anton. And in terms of just football, Terry, for me, is one of the best ever leaders we've ever had in England, for England, and for Chelsea. So for me, John Terry has to be this low down on the list. And he's in at number 2 and easily could have been number 1. And then number 1, guys, Super Frankie Lampard. One of the best ever goal scorers as a midfielder. Had an unbelievable record as a midfielder, scoring goals. Obviously, his earlier days at West Ham, he got a lot of stick for, I think he used to be called overweight and stuff. But look what he went on to do. And Harry Redknapp warned the press and everyone in a press conference with Lampard there in person. Wait and watch what this boy does. And he wasn't wrong. Another one that we should have won something with England. Obviously, he had that shot against Germany at the World Cup that hit the crossbar and clearly crossed the line. And even on the replay you can see it, but it didn't get given, and ultimately we ended up going out of the competition as well. Had that gone in, the game might have changed. But like I was on about Drogba a minute ago, in situations where you need someone to be clutch, Frank Lampard very rarely let you down. He could get assists, as I said, free kicks, headers, right, left foot, and that driving box to box, arriving late in the box as well, timing of his runs, the finishing from the guy. He was a striker even though he was a midfielder because of the amount of goals he got, and you can't ignore that. So for me, without Lampard in that team with Mourinho as well, they wouldn't have won what they won because you needed his goals as well. So Lampard, number 1 for me, and that is my all-time top 10 Chelsea players, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know yours in the comments, and this one was for my missus, as I said. The next one I will put in the community, guys, so you can vote on it as well. So make sure you go and vote on that. I appreciate everyone that's been voting on the previous ones. And I hope you enjoyed this, as I said. Let me know yours in the comments. And before I go, 2,000 subscribers by the 1st of June is the target. Make sure you come and hit the notifications and the subscribe button. Come and support and come and join the community in the comments. Appreciate everyone's support. Speak to you soon.